Hey y'all, in this video I'm going to break down what kind of diet to follow with stage 3 CKD. I'm Kidney Cat, a longtime dietitian specializing in renal nutrition, and I'm glad that you're watching this because this stage of kidney disease is a little tricky. Don't panic at this chart, y'all. I'm here to help. What? This will give some context about stage 3 CKD. On the left side of the chart is the stages of CKD. Stages go from 1, which is mild disease, down to 5, which is kidney failure. Stage 3 is divided into an A and a B. None of the other stages are divided into an A and a B, just stage 3. Yes, it's weird. So some folks will have stage 3A and some will have stage 3B. Which stage a person falls in is determined by a calculated blood result called an eGFR, which stands for Estimated Glomerular Filtration Rate. And one test is never enough. It has to be repeated for confirmation because we all get funky labs sometimes. Some folks will have heard that the eGFR is a percentage of their kidney function. For example, if a person's eGFR is 25, then that would mean that their kidneys are only functioning at 25%. While that idea is not right, it's not wrong either. It's just a simplified way to help envision what's going on. So I'm not mad at it. If anyone wants to think of the eGFR as their percentage of kidney function, that's cool. Anyway, getting back to this chart. If the eGFR is anywhere from 45 to 59, that's 3A. And anyone with an eGFR from 30 to 44 is a 3B. To make things more complicated though, CKD is really not often described in number terms. Instead, you'll hear early stage or late stage or end stage CKD being used. Now, depending on what source of information you're looking at, there will be different ideas about exactly what early or late stage is. Generally though, this is the scheme. Stage 1, 2, and 3A are early stage CKD. Stage 3B and 4 are late stage, which leaves stage 5 as end stage. And that's just to give you a little bit of background on why stage 3 CKD is so tricky. It can be early stage or it can be late stage. And you're going to see the diet difference in a second.
Nice.
Okay, with that out of the way, now I can jive about the diet. I'll start with 3A, which is usually still considered early stage. There are two main recommendations. According to KDIGO and KDOQI, a plant-based Mediterranean-style diet and a low-sodium diet are recommended. For the curious, KDIGO and KDOQI are very funny-sounding names for nonprofit organizations made up of top kidney experts. They create clinical guidelines for doctors, nephrologists, and dietitians like me. This right here is a simplified version of the Mediterranean diet. Half of the plate is non-starchy vegetables, and a quarter of the plate is for starches or grains, whole wheat bread, brown rice, peas, potatoes, and the remaining fourth of the plate is for proteins, with a big focus on plant-based proteins like beans and lentils. Of course, lean meats are acceptable too. On the outside of the plate, you have a little fruit, a little dairy, a little heart-healthy fats like olive oil or avocado, nut or nut butter fat, fatty fish like salmon. Cooking at home and choosing whole foods over processed foods is also a big emphasis, as well as diversifying what a person eats. You know, not eating the same thing every day, like me. I'm totally guilty of that. And for the research lovers watching, the KDOQI and KDIGO guidelines that I'm using will be listed below the video in the description. Check them out. In addition to the Mediterranean diet, low sodium is important for most people with early stage CKD. KDIGO suggests 2 grams daily limit, while KDOQI endorses a 2.3 gram daily limit. When I say 2.3 grams, that means the same thing as 2,300 milligrams. That's what the food labels here in the US use. They use milligrams of sodium. And that percent daily value, or DV, on the food label is aimed at the 2,300 milligram goal. So even while I guess technically this is a sodium restriction, it's still what the average American is recommended to get. There are 3 keys to following a low sodium diet. Key number 1, cook with whole foods as much as possible. Whole foods contain minimal amounts of natural sodium. Number 2, read food labels for sodium content. I suggest aiming for about 600 milligrams of sodium at meals. and maybe 200 milligrams at snacks or meal components. And finally, key number 3, avoid mystery foods. That's anything that you didn't cook at home and that doesn't have a food label on it that you can read. It's a mystery. Think potlucks, food trucks, restaurants, backyard barbecues. Most of those stuff that you're going to eat there is going to be high in sodium. And some are criminally high in sodium. A doctor might provide a person with other specific guidance, but for early stage CKD, the plant-based Mediterranean diet and the low sodium diet apply to the vast majority of folks. For those with 3B, falling now into the late stage category of CKD, things can get a little more tricky. If potassium levels in the blood are too high, a person might be asked to begin following a low potassium diet. It's important to communicate with the doctor about this first, because no one should follow a potassium restriction without being instructed specifically to do so by a doctor or a personal dietitian. Usually only a mild potassium restriction is needed for those with 3B. Potassium restrictions often become tighter as a person progresses towards end-stage disease. So for those that have a mild restriction, I have 2 keys. Key number 1, read food labels for potassium content. Aim for that same 600 milligrams in a meal and 200 milligrams or less at a snack or a meal component. Are those numbers written in stone?
No.
No. Is it a good place to start?
Yeah.
Yes. Key number 2, for any food without a food label, you're going to have to use a food list. Potassium food lists will often break foods down into high, medium, and low potassium categories. Use of the foods on the high list should be limited, and most of the food should come from the medium or low potassium list. And right here, y'all, I would like to plug my chronic kidney disease nutrition course. It's an on-demand video course where I go much further into detail about CKD staging, the Mediterranean diet, the low sodium diet, potassium, phosphorus, protein. It's a comprehensive, easy to understand guide for those with CKD, and it's going to include meal ideas, food lists, label reading handouts, all the tools needed for success. And I have a link to that course and a special offer in the description box below this video, or you can scan the QR link here. Okay, back on track. But what about protein? Many people will be worried about the amount of protein in their urine or the buildup of protein byproducts like BUN or creatinine in their blood. The most recent KDIGO guidelines endorse a protein intake of 0.8 grams per kilogram per day. But please, don't be intimidated by that number. No one needs a calculator here. This number happens to be identical to the RDA for protein. Essentially, anyone with CKD stage 3B should aim for the RDA for protein. The nicest way to get that RDA without pulling out your hair is by following the Mediterranean diet. In that diet, 1/4 of the plate, or the meal, is protein. It's not a perfect measure. I mean, 1/4 of the plate of steak will have more protein than 1/4 of the plate of beans, but it's pretty good, and you'll keep your sanity.
Yes.
So really, while protein intake recommendations don't change here, the type of protein foods chosen may have to. What I mean by that is that many plant-based protein foods are on the high potassium list. I'm talking lentils and most beans. Medium and lower potassium proteins will be the focus now, and that could be black-eyed peas, garbanzo beans, aka chickpeas. It could be tofu or eggs or lean meats. Just remember not to overdo it with the meats. 1/4 of the plate, that's it. As kidney disease progresses to stage 4 or 5, diet recommendations may change again and can include fluid restrictions, phosphorus restrictions, and, on rare occasions, a low protein diet. Those recommendations are not at all common for those with stage 3. In review, for stage 3A or early stage CKD, focus on eating the plant-based Mediterranean diet way and conquer the low sodium diet. For stage 3B, continue on with the Mediterranean diet and the low sodium diet, but also be prepared for any instruction to follow a low potassium diet. And don't overdo it or underdo it on protein. Goldilocks zone here, 1/4 of the plate protein. Thanks for watching, y'all. Please give this video a thumbs up. to help other people find it. Consider checking out my CKD Nutrition Course. It's 3.5 hours of on-demand education and useful printouts.